Why the Neanderthals actually vanished. New study changes the answer. Here's the problem with everything you were taught about the Neanderthals. They weren't slow, they weren't stupid. They made sophisticated tools, controlled fire, buried their dead, and cared for their injured. And here's the detail that breaks the whole textbook story. They had already survived ice ages worse than the one they supposedly died in. They'd been in Europe for hundreds of thousands of years. They'd seen the cold come and go over and over and made it through every time. So why around 40,000 years ago did they suddenly vanish? A new study points to an answer almost nobody expected. And it isn't cold and it isn't war. Stay with me, because what these researchers found says something uncomfortable about us too. Let's start with the two explanations you've heard, and why they don't hold up. The first is climate. The idea that a brutal cold snap finished them off. It's tidy and it's the version most people carry around, but it runs straight into that problem I mentioned. Neanderthals had endured previous glacial cycles. Their bodies were, if anything, better adapted to cold than ours were. Compact, powerful, built to hold heat. If the cold alone could kill them, it should have killed them far earlier. The second explanation is competition. That modern humans arrived, outcompeted them for food and territory, and pushed them into extinction. This one has more going for it, but it also has a complication. We now know Neanderthals and Homo sapiens interbred. Many people alive today carry Neanderthal DNA. That's not the genetic signature of two groups locked purely in hostile competition. That's contact, that's populations mixing. So neither answer works on its own, which left one of prehistory's biggest questions genuinely open. And this is where a team of researchers tried something clever. The study was led by Professor Ariane Burke, working with colleagues and doctoral students, and published in the journal Quaternary Science Reviews. And rather than approaching this as a purely archaeological question, they borrowed a toolkit from an entirely different field: ecology. Ecologists use something called species distribution modeling to work out where an animal or plant can survive. It's a standard tool in conservation biology. Burke's team applied that same logic to ancient humans. Instead of observations of living animals, they used archaeological sites as the presence points. Then they built habitat suitability models for both species across Europe during marine isotope stage 3. That period was volatile, not steadily cold, wildly unstable, swinging between brutal cold phases and warmer intervals. So the question was, given the same unpredictable continent, why did one species hold on and the other not? And here's what the models showed. It wasn't about who could survive the cold, both could. It was about connection. The finding is that Homo sapiens groups were linked to each other across much wider distances, in stronger networks. Neanderthals had connections too, but their networks appear to have been more fragile and regionally limited, more local, more self-contained. At first glance, that might not sound like the kind of thing that decides fate. But think about what a network does when the environment turns hostile. If your region fails, a connected group has options. There are people elsewhere. Information travels, techniques travel, mates travel. A network is a buffer against local disaster. An isolated group has none of that. When their region fails, the failure is total. There's nowhere to fall back to. In a stable world, being self-sufficient works perfectly well. But in an unstable world, connection becomes the difference. The researchers found the picture varied significantly by region. Different pressures dominated in different places. In parts of Eastern Europe, Neanderthal groups were gradually absorbed into the expanding Homo sapiens gene pool. Absorbed, not wiped out, not slaughtered. They may have simply been folded into a larger, better connected population. In one sense, the Neanderthals never entirely went extinct. Their DNA is still here, carried in people walking around today. A separate study published in Nature suggested inbreeding probably wasn't the main driver for their decline. Burke and her colleagues are careful. They're not claiming to have closed the case. It was a complex interplay of factors. What the study adds is a missing piece: social connectivity. Not the whole answer, but one that makes the rest fit. We tend to tell this story as though we won because we were smarter, but the evidence has been chipping away at that. This study suggests our advantage was less glamorous. We knew more people. We stayed in touch across distances. Human survival has never depended on intelligence alone. It has depended on our ability to build and maintain connections, not strength, not cleverness. The size of the world you could reach when your own corner of it failed. If this changed how you see them, subscribe to History Hive. Tell me in the comments, what were you taught? See you in the next one.